So next up in the exhibit is the Virginia Regiment, militiamen, and George Washington was the head of the regiment. There were many enslaved and also free black folks connected to various regiments who were present at when Fort Duquesne became Fort Pitt. With any of the regiments, I was struggling with the idea of recreating the perfect military uniform. So I decided to start with the red coat of the Virginia Regiment, which is the British, because it was a British unit, but then add different things. So on his breast pocket is actually a Sankofa bird, which is also reminiscent of the idea of looking back where you're from, having a sense of knowledge of your past. If you don't know your past, you won't be able to move forward. But also, again, this idea that's brought with the African American experience was different from the African experience. With the African American experience of when you pass on, when you transition from this corporeal body to the next phase, your spirit will go back to your home in Africa. So I wanted to acknowledge that, especially someone in 1758, no idea what that person's experience was, how they found themselves wearing this red coat. But I wanted him to look like a king. So he has indigo dyed head wrap. He has beads and gold ink on his jacket, and breeches, and just, and a silk tie, just to be able to say, I know that you suffered and you went through this thing that you should never have gone to, and I'm not interested in being historically accurate when the history is so racist. I want to present you as a king. So he represents all of the black folks who fought for Pittsburgh, for Pittsburgh to come into existence. So the next segment actually is 1755. So it's before Fort Pitt comes into being. And Colonel Lewis Cook was actually present at Braddock's defeat along the Monongahela. So his father was African. Don't know where. I have not seen that recorded anywhere. His mother was most likely an Abenaki, but she was an indigenous woman from the United States. Some people don't believe this. But it's written in part of his story. I've seen it more than once, so I will retell it, even though some people dispute it. That there was a French soldier who saw him, Lewis Cook, and said, "He's mine." So that to me meant he saw what he thought was a black kid who was going to grab him and take him as his slave. The mother caused up enough of a ruckus that Haudenosaunee folks who were in earshot was able to make sure that didn't happen. And Lewis Cook and his family was adopted by the Mohawks, so he became Mohawk. I don't know how many different chapters of this person's life existed. He fought in the War of 1812. He was there at 1755 fighting for the French. So I wanted to have a black person fighting for the British and a black person fighting for the French, kind of right next to each other in the exhibit. In addition to all the things that he did militarily, he also was very seminal in establishing and creating the Mohawk Nation. So he is just a true character in all the best sense of the word. And I'm not even telling half of what he's an amazing person. The fact that he spent some of his life in this region and was a part of so many different points of history. I hope that someone does do a film about him because he's remarkable.